Welcome to Ultimate Partnering! It's going to be a 3 to 5 year run. And if you're willing to run for 3 to 5 years, if you're willing to do for 3 to 5 years what most people won't do, you will be able to do for the rest of your life what most people can. Who's ready? So should we be investing right now? Oh, absolutely. Yes. Because there are one-off deals out there, right? And here's the thing about it, especially if you're newer and you're just starting to invest, you've got to build what I call the real estate guide. You got to get some game time in there. Because, I've had, when you first get out there and you learn about value adds and you think, all right, I can buy this deal, it's got a value add in it, I'm going to execute the value add in this amount of time. Well, if you've never executed a value add before, you really don't know what you don't know. I mean, we can't possibly teach you everything there is to know about multifamily investing. We try, right? But there are things that you don't know what you don't know until you get in the game. And that's when you start learning about these things. That's when you start building your instinct and start building your gut. So you got to start doing deals. So you start with the deals that make sense very conservatively, or you get involved with somebody that has built that real estate gut. But this is a time to build your real estate gut, to build your team, to get out there and start really establishing yourself in the market that you want to be on. Scott Stafford's presentation got switched over to the last presentation today. You don't want to miss that presentation because he's going to tell you the top 10 markets that you should be looking at right now that are going to come out the fastest when this whole thing resets. And then you choose one of those markets right now, and then you start building your presence in that market. Okay, build your team, build your connections, build your gut, build your wealth. Think like a surfer. Whenever I go over to La Jolla Shores, my favorite hotel in the world is in La Jolla Shores, right on the beach, La Jolla Shores Beach. Brian Darcy, who is a client, came with us in 2007. This is the great thing about this community. I get to know you. And the more you come back, the more I get to know you, and then we eventually become friends. Every time I'm in San Diego, I stay at La Jolla Shores, and I call Brian up, and I'm like, I'm here. He's like, okay, what time? And I'll say like 6:30, whatever, but he'll pick me up in the morning with a surfboard, wetsuit, and then we go surfing right there down at Scripps Beach on La Jolla Shores. So, he's over there. Where is he? Stand up, Brian. There he is right there. Listen, you ever go to San Diego, look up Brian. He'll teach you how to surf. Where's Rob Roselle? Right there. Listen, I went surfing with Brian just 2 weeks ago. And he told me about the time you went surfing, right? And you lasted about 2 trips out. Like, oh my God, my arms don't work anymore. So anyways, as a surfer, what you're doing is you're sitting out on the water, right? Say that's the beach right there. And you're usually like sideways to the waves, and you're looking out there. You're looking for a swell. They're calming, but you're looking for the right one. And eventually you see it out in the horizon. And as it starts coming closer, what do you start doing to your board? You move it. No, you move it to the shore first. That's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is you get your feet out of the water. As it's coming closer, you're getting your feet out of the water because you're timing this thing, right? Because if you miss the timing, then all you do is bob up and down. That's it. If you get too early, like I usually am, I'm usually too early, right? That thing just bowls you over. In there. So that wave's coming, you get your feet up, and then you start paddle. Paddle, 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 paddle. You paddle before the wave comes. Why? So you can build what? So you can build momentum. So when that wave comes and you time the jump up, then you can just ride that wave. Riding a wave, a surfing wave, is like one of the most exciting things that you can do, when you start hitting it for the first time. But that's what it's all about. It's all about timing this market. That wave's out there. We see it. The reset is happening, and it's getting closer and closer. It's time to move our boards to the front, time to put our feet up and watch that thing come in and start building our momentum. So who are we going to be buying from? This is my favorite part, because for the last couple of years, I've been saying, I can't believe the deals they're doing out there. Because I was in, the last reset was 2008. I was buying deals heavy back then. Nobody saw the Lehman crisis that happened like overnight. So we were getting a little bit more aggressive than we should have on some of the deals. And so the deals that we got the most aggressive on was the deals that kept us up at night, as the market reset back then. And it was very, very difficult. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, I can't believe the deals they're doing out there right now because, I know this market's going to reset. Maybe it's taken longer than it should. We're like 2 years in and they're getting these compressed cap rates and like everybody's a hero, right? Everybody's doing these deals and they're, they're buying them and selling them with 1 year, 2 years, and they're making all this money, right? And they think they got the Midas touch. But in reality, the market created a ruined investor. And we're going to see those ruined investors coming up because those are the people who didn't buy based on conservative. Should I be pointing this at something? Over there? Okay. So these are the people that did bridge financing. All right, so if you're not familiar with bridge financing is usually, it's short-term, and it's usually more costly than conventional Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae financing. But in the last few years, bridge financing actually got more affordable. And you could get into deals cheaper. They could cash flow. But the problem is the bridge financing resets. All right, you have to refinance that bridge financing. So what's going to start happening is the people that took those bridge finance loans, if they didn't do it right, and even if they did it right, they're going to have to refinance. And then the numbers aren't going to work. And that property is going to go back to the bank. So that's one. Number two, aggressive value adds. I couldn't believe some of the deals that have come through my office and people trying to justify those deals through the value adds that were going to happen a year, 2 years down the road. I think it was 3 years ago we got presented with this deal in Oklahoma City that was 350 units. And it was going to be a value add that was going to take 2 years to do. And I'm like, I'm not touching that deal. Little did I know that deal made a ton of money, but I'm a conservative investor. I wasn't going to touch that deal. I knew where we were in the cycle. And even though you never know when the market's going to roll over, all right, it is going to roll over eventually. So the best thing to do is just to hold back and be extra conservative when the market's crazy like this, and it seems like everybody's making crazy money. So those aggressive value adds, they're not going to be completed. The people will either run out of money, usually they run out of money before they get completed, and that's what's going to happen. Second, and also on the value adds, we're going to have to refinance those as well if they bought them below 85% occupancy. The repositioners, the larger repositioners, there's just not enough time in this marketplace. When they go to reset as well, we've got rents that are going to be lowering. We've got concessions that are going to be getting higher. Those are the people we're going to be buying from as well. And what do we buy now? If we buy before the reset, when the reset happens, there's going to be all kinds of opportunities in B and C properties. We make our most money in our Bs and our Cs. Actually, during the reset, we're going to see our A properties yield the same amount as Bs, so we can actually start buying some A properties that will yield pretty good. But we make our most money in our Bs and our C properties. But in this market right now, you only buy B properties in B areas. Because if for some reason that property gets in trouble, people always buy B properties in B areas. They will not buy C properties in C areas because of the type of properties, the amount of work that's done, and the type of tenant base, because that tenant base loses their jobs first. So, how do you get there faster? Educate, action, feedback. Educate, action, feedback. Learn, do it, and then get feedback about how you did it. What went right, what went wrong, how can I be better? Write that down. The 3 questions you should be asking yourself on a regular basis is what went right, what went wrong, how can I be better? What could I have done to be better? You do that, you're gonna excel. Wisdom of the crowd, the great part of this community. We got a Facebook page. People call the office all the time. But we get the wisdom of the crowd. It wasn't just me. I created this system back in 1998, 2 years after I started investing, and started sharing it with people in 2002. The foundational information is the system is the same, but the skills and the techniques and the different actions that you take in different market cycles changes. Okay, within the community, and so does technology, and the way we do business changes. So one of the things I've learned is the wisdom of the crowd. I have gotten as much from you as you have gotten from me in terms of what's working and what's not out there. I'm always listening to our successful clients. They're always listening to us, and we're sharing information. So that's how you get there faster, with the wisdom of the crowd. And most importantly, discover how to control your mind. Here's the truth. You right now are as successful as you think you should be. Think about that statement. You right now are as successful as you think you should be. That's where your mind's at. Sometimes people think that they just can't figure out, or they're self-sabotaging themselves, and they just don't know why it is that it isn't working for them. That's because you haven't learned how to control your mind yet. So we can teach you all the skill. We can teach you all the knowledge. We can keep you updated on everything. But if you don't understand that this is a mind game and start working on your mind, you're not going to get to where you want to be. So, for me, I listened to Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field. That was the first breakthrough for me way back when I was, when I had that landscaping company going into real estate investing. Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field, Earl Nightingale's A Stranger's Secret, both free on YouTube right now. Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. That book, I read that when it first came out. That was awesome. That's free on YouTube right now. And most importantly, I listened and I took action. Earl's been dead for a long time, but this stuff is timeless. When I started doing what he said in his tapes, my life started changing. I was like, holy crap, it's working. So I did more. I got Tony's stuff, and then I got other people's stuff, and I still get people's stuff. One time I went through a 2-year fog. I couldn't figure out why I was on the plateau, and I couldn't get any higher. So I went to a psychologist. I was like, I can't figure it out. Why can't I get any higher? He goes, well, tell me about your life. So I told him about my life. He goes, wow, that's amazing, because of where I've been and what I've had to go through and where I've gotten to. And he said, so tell me. He goes, what's the latest thing that you've listened to or seminar you've gone to? And I'm like, I haven't been in a long time. He goes, why? He goes, because most people come to me for the answers now. And he said, great. He says, but the reason you're in a 2-year fog is because you're not out there doing what you do that got you there, which is basically working on your mind, working on your mind, working on your mind. So that's why when I said Dr. Joe Dispenza, I discovered Dr. Joe a couple of years ago. His stuff is phenomenal out there. Ed Mylett, if you're not familiar with that name, that guy, I just watched him speak at an event a couple of weeks ago. Well, that's the reason I was in San Diego. Brian gave me the book. This is the awesome thing, right? There's this thing called karma, too, and everybody's on the same vibration. So me and Brian have always been on the same type of vibration. So I'm like, so we're surfing. So I was kidding you about your arms giving way. Well, I had just gotten done with COVID, and I was going to tell Brian that I couldn't surf because I was a big pussy, right? And I was like, no, I haven't been out in 6 years. I had kids 6 years ago, right? And I haven't traveled since. So it's like my first time back, and I said, I'm going to do it. I said, I'm still feeling a little shaky off of COVID, but I'm going to do it. Well, I lasted 3 times out. You know what I mean? My arms just dropped. I'm like, I can't do it anymore, Brian. So we get on the beach, and I said, I was at Traffic and Conversion. Traffic and Conversion is this marketing event. And Ed Mylett was there. You know that guy? And he's like, yeah, I know that guy. I'm like, he was awesome. He gave this presentation. He's got this podcast. I discovered him 2 months ago, blah, blah, blah. And we're talking, right? He goes, by the way, I brought you a gift. I said, what's that? It's Ed Mylett's book. And he had already inscribed it on the inside, so it wasn't like, hey, I happen to have one in my car. I'm going to give it to him now. That he mentions like, hey, Dave, it's a gift for you. So I was like, wow, man, that's karma. So really, focus on your mind. If you change your mind, you'll change your world. Simple as that.